Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre. This is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We'll do it live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication. It's over 9,000!
My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't face me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a fire in my labor. Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello, one and all. Welcome back to Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM and all of our wonderful streaming platforms. My name is Kev, and I am live from sunny Tenerife.
On location.
On location. I was promised anime on this volcano, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to leave until it's delivered.
That's fair. Although I was in Hamburg a while ago, and I don't really eat burger here anymore, but I went in to try and find that anime t-shirt, and
The One Piece t-shirt?
Yeah, and to my shock, they actually had it, and I was like, "Whoa, Kev is right."
Hell yeah!
I was randomly in Hamburg airport, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll just go see," and they had it.
It's so funny because I have it literally right in front of me. I'm dropping the kayfabe. I'm flying out tomorrow, and it's like one of the t-shirts I brought with me, and it's like obviously flying is more of a comfort than like a luxury. So
yes,
it's just a big baggy t-shirt. So it's the one I've already got out to wear tomorrow.
Fantastic, though. It's just hilarious. Like it was, too funny.
That's
too funny.
Yeah, no. So next convention, it's me and you are going to wear the One Piece t-shirts and absolutely shame Kean for not getting one.
Well, no, okay. Well, look, I got cards on the table. I didn't buy one because, as I said, I don't eat Burger King. I went into the Burger King because it was a kiosk right there, and I checked the screen to be like, "Oh, there it is." But no, I wasn't wooed. I think you had to buy like a Whopper or something. I don't really look.
It was I think like there's two variations. It was like one was a Whopper and one was like a chicken meal.
Yeah, no. Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm going for chicken. I'm going to go for believe it or not, Supermacs. And look, we're not sponsored.
Oh man,
we're not sponsored by any fast food place. Just for the record. But no, if I'm going for chicken, Supermacs, 100%.
For decent chicken. As far as Supermac is concerned, we are not a well-established GA team, so we are not so sponsored by Supermacs.
But no, for real. If I'm going for fast food and
you're so right. The chicken at Supermac is so good.
It's so good. The burgers, not so much. I will say I'm not a fan of the burgers, to be honest with you. But that chicken.
But you've got the variety, because if you don't feel the chicken, you can get the pizza. If you don't feel the pizza, you can get the subs.
Even better, right?
This is our me's talking.
It is. No, it is. It is. See, no, this is the thing, right? So obviously we're on a Dublin radio station, but where I live is Meath. And then Kev lives in real Meath, right? But I didn't appreciate Supermacs until I went to college in Maynooth. And for anyone who's been to Maynooth, great part of Ireland, it really is. But in the centre of the town, right? Like any proper Irish town that's not Dublin, or even, to be fair, Dublin itself, now that I say it, in the centre of Dublin there is one, is a Supermacs. Pride of place.
Oh no, if you want to see a Supermacs, that is a crown jewel. You go to Galway.
Yes.
Because the Supermacs on Air Square, it might as well be the City Hall. It's a palace.
But you know what? To be fair, right? Again, I didn't understand it. I didn't get it, and then I went to Maynooth for a couple of years, and you're like, oh, I kind of want fast food. You wouldn't walk to the McDonald's because it's outside the town, but the Supermacs is right there. You can have it. You can go back. You can go right back to class, and I was like, okay, I actually get Supermacs now. It's amazing. But here's the thing, right? The ultimate order, particularly if you're still drunk or hungover. Again, we don't endorse either of those things, but we are Irish.
You don't.
And it also is Patrick's Day weekend, so come on.
Come on.
Yeah, come on. Right. So you get your chicken. You then get your dressed fries with some taco sauce or whatever with bit of, the taco mince and all that kind of stuff. And there you go. You have your meat, a different kind of meat, and your chips.
And then you chase it up with one of those ice cream muffins.
Well, I wouldn't, but that's because usually I'm pretty full after that. But no, it is phenomenal. I mean, like once you kind of experience Supermacs, nothing else really hits the same way. You know, it's just like
this is listen. Anyone that's in Ireland listening to this knows this. I think we're preaching to the choir on this one.
True,
but
true.
I know we have international listeners.
We do. We have a lot of American, a lot of English listeners, and even some people in Europe.
We can see you. If you're here, Supermax is the country. It is the food of our people.
No, it legitimately is. Like if you're coming to Ireland and you're like, I want to get some Irish cuisine, and you end up going to McDonald's, don't go to Supermax. It's the only place where you can get, as you said, a sub, a pizza, taco fries, like a battered sausage, ice cream. It's kind of everything in one place.
Kind of everything.
And it's all like very decent, except I don't like the burgers. I will be honest with you, I really don't. But that's a personal thing for me.
They're fine. They're not as bad as some, but they're not the best out there.
Yeah,
also the chips leave something to be desired, but like that's why you cover them and stuff.
That's why you cover them and stuff. Exactly. Took the words I was going to say. I was like, look, you don't go in there for the chips. You go in there so they'll douse them in something, and you're like, okay, you know. But this is why you eat it when you're really drunk or really hungover, because nothing. It just makes the food even better. Particularly when you're touring. We were doing a tour of Ireland there last year. Now the lads came over from the UK, friends of ours called Devflesh. Check out Devflesh. They're like phenomenal. They're a few of them are vegan death metal. So the name is the genre's in the name. But they're class and a great bunch of lads. They really are. But like we were saying, they're like, where should we eat? I'm like, oh, lads, go to Supermax. You totally have to. And they came back and like, Supermax was amazing. It's like, yeah, it was. You know, so as we were moving around the country, they were going to different Supermax. And I was like, yes, absolutely have to. Because like it was like Dublin, Cork, and then Limerick.
Yeah, and I have a soft spot for the ones in like service stations, like coming out of like Dublin, coming out of Galway. Because they're just the middle. It was actually, we had not the last big storm, not Eowyn, but Dara, funnily enough.
Yes.
We lost.
That did some serious damage. I was in Hamburg when that was happening because I had to fly out. Sorry, yeah, I was in Hamburg. No, I had to go to Brussels to fly out because I was supposed to go to Hamburg, and the only way I could get out of the country was to leave because that flight that storm did so much damage. All the flights were cancelled. So yeah, and that one was real bad.
Yeah, no, we were like me and my wife were without power for like 7-8 hours more probably.
Right.
So we had spent the day kind of out doing stuff. You know, went to see Wicked, went to Varian Shopping Centre, went about this. Got home about 5 p.m. Power was still gone, and like without power, we couldn't cook anything. Like it was just gone. And on top of that, everywhere in the town was gone, so I couldn't get like takeaway there. So we had to just get in the car and drive, and just keep driving until we found somewhere. And we passed through about 3 more towns that were blackouts, that were just no power, until we finally hit a motorway service station, which was like the guiding light of Mecca, just off in the distance. So bright because it was the only light in the middle of the country.
Literally the city on the hill.
The city on the hill. So we just, and yeah, you know what? It's one of the best Supermacs I've had in my life. We got a big old pizza.
I'd believe it. No, like that's the thing. It's one of the things you don't really appreciate. Because like when you're in the States as well, they have these service stops everywhere. You can do the drive-through coffee places. You know, Wawa is great for anyone who's from Philadelphia or Jersey. Wawa is the best thing ever. It's like a service station where you can make sandwiches, and then they'll make them in front of you in the 24 hours, and you can get like a bucket of coffee for a couple of dollars. I wish we had Wawas here, but they're only in like literally New Jersey and Philadelphia. I think there's one in New York, and that's about it. But and actually, if you watch WrestleMania 40, you'll see some Wawa signs because it's it's a Philadelphia thing. And
is WrestleMania in Philly this time?
It was last year. It's in Vegas this year. Yeah. So that's why I was there, because I have family in that side of the States. But Yeah, and Dave's from the Rewind is in Philadelphia as well, so I went with him.
Yeah.
But Wawas are genuinely the greatest thing ever. But that's you know what? That's what I can associate, or basically the best comparison. I think it's like Supermax. If you're in Ireland and you're kind of outside the city, you're like in like not Dublin. You know you get Supermax. It's like Wawa in New Jersey and Philadelphia. You only know how amazing that is if you're from there, but if you're in the rest of the states, everyone is like, what is that? You know,
What's that? Never heard of it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's the bottom line is, folks, whenever you go to a place, wherever the locals are eating, probably go there because that's where it's going to be, you know. But yeah, so that has been our food portion. Oh, you can tell I haven't eaten today. You can tell I haven't eaten today.
Something tells me, yeah, maybe somebody's a bit hungry.
Yeah, I was at the gym today and I just didn't get time to eat after work, so I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. Sorry.
Well, I suppose speaking of where people aren't eating, or at least soon won't be, this is our in memoriam to Skype.
Oh yeah, it has to be. You know, when I heard about this, I was like I was in disbelief. I went through the 5 stages of grief, 7 stages of grief, and now I'm in acceptance. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll have to like find somewhere else. Because look, I don't know about you, Kev, right? But I've been doing this podcast and radio thing for years, for like 10, no, it's no longer, like 15, 20 years now at some point, right? And that's scary to think about. And when I got into it, obviously doing the radio show is its own thing, but like there'd be somebody in studio and we do it that way, and we've moved now to doing it remote. But like and a lot of places have done that, but when I started doing the podcasting thing with the wrestling radio, like everyone was in the States. So the only way you could talk to them was through Skype. So I remember, like, you know, the early days of trying to figure out how to get Skype to work, how to get it to go through a desk, how to record from it.
Yeah, get Skype to work is kind of the optimal thing there, because for a long while there, it just didn't.
It just didn't work, and it was mad though, like, because like now where it is, or before like the pandemic, really, it was in a very usable state. You know, you could record from it, had some features, it was fine, it was stable. Like back in the day, we used to have the term the Skypean death drop, you know, where you'd be halfway through a conversation and the call would just end, you know. So it really did kind of set the groundwork for teleconferencing, is I think what they call it. But like if you were in wrestling radio, or I guess any kind of radio on the internet, couple of years ago, it was what everyone used. And then like actual news places started using it. I think RTE started using it, stuff like that. But what's mad about Skype is it built up such goodwill because it went through the fire of being like, right, let's actually make this good, or at least usable. And then the biggest opportunity in the world came, literally, where everyone had to go online. Everyone had to go online. And Zoom just took them over. Because I remember using Zoom in my first real like corporate job, and I was like, wow, this is like Skype but good. Why don't people use this? And nobody heard about it until the pandemic, because I like everyone else, I was like, oh, this is going to be a big move for Skype. No, Zoom came in and absolutely bodied them.
Just
and that
ate their lunch completely.
Just completely. But the thing about it is, like, if you're looking at the features from Skype, it never really changed. It kind of just stayed the same for decades. You know, like the login is the same. The actual features are kind of the same. They never really like moved. But there were some great features with it. Like with Zoom, you have to pay certain amount to get over 40 minutes. There's ways around that, but that's a pain. You know, you can't just call up your mates unless they're added together. Like Skype had this communal feature to it. And I guess that's why I'm kind of bummed out, because like I have contacts on my Skype that I've had for years. Like, you know, not to name drop, but I'm going to have to prove a point. Like Jeff Jarrett, Jeremy Borash, you know, just on my Skype list because I worked with them, you know. And like even when we started this call, I could just call you, you could just call me. It was grand. It wasn't like as cold as mechanical. And I think that's why people are going to miss Skype, because it doesn't feel like the big corporate overlord, even though it's literally owned by Microsoft. It doesn't feel so cold and sterile like Zoom can. You know, when you open up a Zoom meeting and be kind of cold. Skype still had that. Sure, look, you know,
it's basically it's that kind of like, it's that halfway point between like an online call and a phone call.
Yes, exactly. It feels more personable than the coldness of Zoom. But again, they didn't market that. They're just like, you know, okay, I guess we're going to get rid of it. And like, the reason why we're talking about this is because in May, it's going, it's done. They're not sunsetting it. They're taking it out the back of the shed, loading 2 slugs up, they're going to old yeller it, as Deadpool would say. They're
going to old yeller it and then feed it to Teams.
Well, here's the thing. Teams is Skype, just bad Skype. Again,
I know so many people that like work with like that have to use, because they use the Microsoft like suite in their office.
Yeah.
They have to use Teams for conference calls, and without fail, every single one of them will go on and on about how it simply doesn't work.
No. Look, here's the thing. So again, I work a corporate job, and I've had experience with using all of them. I've even had experience with using one that's owned proprietary by a major tech company. And guess what? That's even worse again. So it can get worse. But it really did fall down to Teams took over everything because it integrates your chat function. It integrates into, as I said, the Microsoft suite. So it's probably cheaper to do it that way. But cheaper doesn't mean good. Like, if I see someone send, like, even if I was interviewing for jobs, if I see someone send me a Teams link, I probably won't apply for that job because I know they're using, they're using Teams.
It's going to be a bad time.
It's going to be a bad time because, I mean, in my experience, and a lot of people's experience, it sounds like, it's just broken. It's like they took Skype, broke it, and shoved in loads of features, and now it's like, okay, this is bad for everybody. At least it's mad because at least with Skype, you know, you knew if you had like 3 people on, 4 people on, that would be the max, and you kind of cycle people out. And it was very good at like being a stable 2 to 3 person call, right? And that, like, the Skypean death drop would come in, funny enough, if you start adding in more people. So it's like, we knew this was the problem. You were like, for years, and Microsoft was like, you know what we need to do? Teleconference. You're like, oh no, that won't go up. Because you have to hand it to Zoom. They have nailed teleconferencing. Like, no matter how many people are on that Zoom call, it's going to go out. It's going to be really, really stable. But Teams are somehow just cannot handle it. And I do, again, because it more likely is the case, they just took Skype and bolted loads of stuff onto it. It's like, you know that bit in South Park where it's like, stop the reactor when you're that kind of thing. It's like they just made this.
They bolted a bunch of stuff on to a service which was pretty obviously could not handle more than it was doing at the moment.
No, it was like it was handling the bare minimum in the most courageous way, and through like years and years and years of like fixing and tweaking and, you know, being a very like niche podcast and thing, or even just to have a call with your family. Like that's what it was for.
That's the niche, because again, Teams has kind of locked itself in as being like the corporate conference calling app.
The bad corporate
and Zoom
the bad
are that
corporate conferencing. Bad conferencing app. Yeah.
Whereas like nobody is using Teams to just video call their mate.
Yeah, no one is.
Like, offices will also use Zoom, and so will people. Offices using Teams. Nobody is using Teams to like just call their mate. Which is that's the niche that Skype was filling. Yeah, and now that's just going.
But like Hangouts did it as well, but like Google loves to kill companies. Like there's
Google, the Google graveyard is
it's wild.
Notable. Like,
so hold on.
Hey, Darren, remember Stadia?
For anyone that doesn't know, Kev, tell the good people what that is. Not Stadia, the whole thing.
It is a documented website that just lists every single service Google has like created and then just flatlined. And like it's growing into the severals of dozen. potentially hundreds at this point. Because they'll just like they'll introduce a new app, introduce a new feature, and then within like 2 years, it's gone. Stadia is probably like my biggest kind of high profile one, which was Google's foray into gaming, except they want to try it with streaming gaming, which is a concept that's like still kind of up in the air. Like no company's really gotten it yet, which is instead of like downloading the game and putting it actually like onto your hard drive and playing it there, it's loading the game through a server and playing it online. And if you go back, if you're a long-time listener of ours, you'll know that like us and Kian had lengthy conversations about this, with him trying to play what was it, Kingdom Hearts remotely through like the Switch had like kind of an online presence like that. But Stadia was like, we're doing it. All of our games are going to be based on the cloud. Going to be playing it through that, and they just sold you a controller,
a controller and a HDMI cable,
and like that was it. And it was like, that's your gaming setup. And lo and behold, the games did not run well. It was very rarely supported outside of a couple of companies, and I think it was moonlit within like 3 years.
The thing about it is, it's like it's just a bit ahead of its time. But like with Microsoft, they will let stuff kind of run its course, and then all the other Google tend to be like,
under the axe. If it's not working now, it won't cut it.
If it's not working immediately, so like Hangouts was kind of like a better Skype, to be fair, right? It really was. But that went the same way. Do you think it's just there's no money in it immediately? You know, like
certain. That's definitely it.
But how much bandwidth can it actually take? Like, or are people just using WhatsApp to call their friends in the same way? But I always thought Skype and WhatsApp were very different. Like, they don't feel like the same product, or maybe we're just old. You know? No, they are distinct. I think WhatsApp has. I mean, the big thing WhatsApp will credit at least is like their kind of end-to-end encryption messaging feature. But it's also like it's levels of casualness, and this is kind of like this might be just my like mental segmenting of things. Of like, if I just need to like send someone like just a message, a meme, even just kind of throw something at them, not expect a response. That's Messenger. That's Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
If I need to actually have a conversation with somebody, that's WhatsApp.
No, that's fair. That's actually really fair.
And then Skype is the phone call.
Yeah, it's replaced. It's replaced the phone call in lots of ways, because you can a phone call you can kind of you wouldn't hang out on a phone call for hours, but you would on a Skype, or you would on some other teleconferencing way, you know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like there's also, because we've been talking a lot about Zoom, but I think there's another dog in the room of like kind of casual video, of like casual audio hangout. That's Discord, which
but Discord is ropey, man. I mean,
Discord is ropey, but Discord has the community aspect that neither really has.
Yeah, it does.
Zoom, you can obviously directly contact somebody that you like this, like us.
Yeah,
we wanted this call to record this thing. That's what that's for. Discord is if you're part of an online community and kind of like want to have a discussion with like a fandom of people. That's Discord's role. And like, again, a role I think Skype had a hand in, but never quite got their hand on the ball.
It's mad. It's like my problem with Discord is purely from a social aspect, feeding through cybersecurity, where it's like there's a lot of ways to disseminate code. There's also ways to hack people. There's loads of videos you can watch. I'd recommend checking them out online. Discord is, from someone who works in cybersecurity, it's worrying. It really is. But I totally get what you're saying. But it's mad because like Skype, I think, had that sorted out. They just had to push it a little bit, and they just never did. And I think maybe that's the issue, because you had, I said Zoom, Discord, they're taking over that role, and it's because, as you said, they identified what they were, they knew what they were, and then they ran with it. Skype were like, okay, we're happy here. It's like, yeah, but you haven't updated in like 10 years. Go, yeah, okay.
This is fine though.
This is fine. And they're left behind, and it's really sad because when May happens, which it will, because you can't stop the progress of time, that's it. And it's funny because you go on the website and they're like, how to transition to Microsoft Teams for free. And look, I will not be doing that. I will not be doing that. But it's sad because we're going to lose the term Skype. We're going to lose, the actual verb to Skype someone. It's a bit of history that's
it will
gone.
It'll take some time, but that it'll be our I think mine and you. I know you're a little older than me, but our generation I think is probably going to be the last ones that would I'd probably still use. I merely use the word Skype when I'm zooming someone, but even then, Zoom is its own verb now.
Yeah, it is. It's just weird. It's like that little bit of history that's gone. And again, probably some people didn't have the experience with Skype that I would have. But because, again, to bring Dave into it, first time I met Dave in person was last year. I met Dave 20 years ago on Skype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just wow, that's crazy, to think. But
what was the Hotmail Instant Messenger? At least when I was a teenager.
MSN.
MSN. That's the one.
Actually,
but again, that, that was the only way anyone could communicate if you had a PC.
Yeah.
And then it had its way.
But here's the mad thing, right? So I was at this thing a couple of months ago. It was in a place called the Barberine, which is in London. It's it's an art centre in the actual city of London, not London proper. And you can go in and look, it's really nice. Everyone there is super cool. It's like a brutalist hangout for all the hippies and stuff like that, right? So they can go with all the arty kids. It's kind of like NCI in not NCI, the one in Dunleary. What's that called?
Oh, IGT.
That's it. Yeah, it's like that in Dunleary, but with brutalist architecture, right? So you walk in and they have a cinema and they have theaters and that kind of stuff, but they do installations. And one of the installation they did was I'm not okay, or it's not a phase. I can't remember what one was, but it was it was all about emo culture, right? So they had they got a bunch of hard drives and they went through them and they pulled all the pictures from cameras and stuff like that, But they had technology, and in the technology section were flip phones, Discman, the first iPod, remember the Zen MP3 players? Pride of place, right? They had MSN.
It was absolutely the only way.
They had screenshots, Kev. They had screenshots of it, and I was just it just brought back so much nostalgia.
Do you remember what a common thing was just to was a function just to poke people? And it was just kind of a vibrate. It was just kind of a nudge, just kind of a, hey, do something.
But that was even on the first couple of releases of Facebook.
Yeah, because it was, I don't know why it was so popular on MSN, but it just kind of was. So I think Facebook had to kind of crib it.
Yeah, it's such a weird time, because you're God, if someone brought it in now, you'd be oh, leave me alone,
Oh, no. Listen, it might just be that I'm in my 30s, but if somebody poked me and nudged me, I'm no, get out of my house. Fuck off.
But it's even we're the generation now that don't use their ringtone. I don't even know what my ringtone is. I will be honest with you. I have no idea what my ringtone is.
No.
If you were to give me €100 now, I literally couldn't tell you what it is.
No,
I've never used it.
Absolutely not.
Never used it.
It's on vibrate, and if I need to know, if I'll keep an eye out if somebody wants me.
Yeah, but what's crazy is so sorry. Sorry, go on.
No, you go on.
I was going to say, but in our generation, we've gone from where you'd pay £3.50 for a ringtone. You know what I mean? And it's gone completely full circle.
To where I don't want to hear the goddamn thing at all. Or
I don't know it at all.
Yeah.
I know what my messenger is, obviously, but I don't know what the phone call is. It's strange. It's technology obviously moves on and we progress and we get older, but I do think it's fitting to mark when we lose a biggie, because Skype is for a lot of people what MSN was for a lot of people. And there was a lot of sadness with MSN, because when you're talking about, people our age and you mention MSN, they're like, There is that like
It
nostalgia.
was like, it was fondness. It was simple. It was there.
Yeah, it's like MySpace. I love MySpace. To this day, I will still say, and again, it was also in that exhibit where I had a bit of a existential crisis where I'm seeing my teenage years in a glass case. It's like, what is this? you know, but yeah, like MySpace was phenomenal too, and there was a lot of sadness when that was gone. And those servers are new.
Would you believe MySpace? The website MySpace is still up.
It is, but all the content is gone because the servers were bleached.
You can't upload. It's so funny that you mentioned that because only the other day. Do you know the YouTuber Rob Scallon?
Yes.
He he put up a video where he wrote and recorded. The long and short of it is that like he had a meetup with the guitar player of Knocked Loose, who just taught him some absolutely nasty things to do with a guitar to make it sound horrendous. It's great. So he then went and used some of that to make an EP that was absolutely grimy, but then also sampled all the vocal tracks on this EP are samples from the movie Jurassic Park. The EP is called Chugzilla.
Oh my god, we need Chugzilla.
And what his aim was to upload it to MySpace. Obviously couldn't because they couldn't upload it, but I think he managed to like route it so that like he could post the video link on MySpace, and then also like that was a link to a YouTube video, but the YouTube video is as if the MySpace player was playing the song.
Like MySpace was crazy because it was just a social media, but then it like a lot of bands were on there. So like I had a band around the time we were a MySpace era band, just because they were a lot older and it was the technology. But the actual player was super, super good. Like for the time, like it wasn't low quality. It actually sounded really decent. And it was the only real way to discover music because I don't think Bandcamp was around at the time. It could have been, but I don't know.
I think the only other one would have been SoundCloud, but it was hard to find anything on SoundCloud.
That was it. Like
know where to go.
Yeah, you were able to just search and you could find loads. Like there was a band that would cover Star Wars songs in a metal way, and it was sick. They weren't Hoth, but they were a band called the Home Planet of the Sith is called Korriban, and I still remember that because I'm like, they were great. I don't think they ever did anything after MySpace, but I was like, they did a really good cover of Star Wars song. The Korriban's a good band name. But yeah, like it's what. And speaking of that band, I want to do a cheap plug. If anyone is interested in like Nightwish kind of metal, that was recorded 20 years ago, but doesn't sound like it was recorded 20 years ago. You can go over check out Valcata with a V, so VALCATA. It's called Nightmare and Promises: The Forgotten Demos. So if you want to go over and check that out, it's on Spotify now, and it's real good. So it took 20 years to release.
Because I do like Nightwish and that sort.
Oh well, there you go, Kev. Like, let me know what you think because we actually literally recorded it 20 years ago. We released it, right, and it wasn't mixed well. I never forget the review was. It sounds like a wet mop hitting the floor, which it did. To be fair, the kick drum wasn't great. It was kind of harsh, but it was like, okay, fair enough.
You don't want your kick drum sounding like a splat.
No, it's just like not good. But what's mad is, so I haven't really. I talked to a couple of the members of the band, but a few of them moved. Like a lot of my teachers are doctors, and one moved to New York. The guy who moved to New York still kept the project going as Valcata. And he was like, "Hey, I want to re-release the demos," and I'm like, "Please God, no, don't," because they sounded so bad, And believe it or not, I actually had the stems. So if anyone doesn't know what stems are, when you're recording, the stems are the raw audio file that you record. So if you're in an audio interface, you run that into editing software, and you hit your guitar, that file, that noise becomes a file, which is not a stems. So I actually had the original stems on a 20-year-old hard drive somehow in my spare room. Don't know how I had them. I just had them, right? And I texted my friend Shannon to be like, "Hey, do do a mix of this. So she did a mix of memory, and it was incredible. And I sent it to the guys, and they're like, "Oh my god, where'd you get this? We need to like do this." So then that started the project of remixing it completely, rebuilding it completely. So it sounds like it's as modern as we could get it. But I think it's really, really good. So if you like Nightwish, if you like Epica or whatever, like Sona Arctica, definitely check out Falcata. I think everyone will dig it.
Hell yeah. No, I'll definitely check that out. Well, listen, we're coming around. We're not finishing up here, but like, I think the other thing that I think we wanted to talk about was this weekend, Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So notable. We usually, when like kind of around this time of year, an episode will crop up of like our thoughts on Comic-Con and what we did at it and what we saw in our panel. You might notice that this one was this year's been a bit different because we haven't done that. We haven't talked
about it at all, really. And it's weird. It's like, it kind of creeped up on me as well. Like, obviously we're not going this year because like Kev is not in the country. I have a wedding to go to. Keen is exhausted. It's been a busy time. It's been a busy time, but there isn't really, and then again, look, this isn't like a knock to them. They are great. They've been really good to us as well. We love going to it. It is a really cool experience. But for anyone that might not know, the spring DCC wasn't always a thing. It used to be the anime one, and then they swapped it over to basically being the same thing twice a year. So the spring ones tends to be not lesser, but not have the big impact of the summer one, and indeed the horror one, because I know a lot of people are just so upset, like they are losing their mind over the horror one that's coming in November.
Like obviously it's the first time it's happening. They decided to do a horror con out in Swords.
Yeah, that's where it used to be, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've never been to it. I don't know like the area, but I can only assume it's an upgrade to the National Convention Center. Because again, not talking about like, not criticizing DCC at all, but that's just a bad venue for a convention.
It's funny you mention it because actually, if people listen to an interview I did with Olivia a couple of years ago, I'll repost it on the YouTube so people can. But we actually talk about how it moved from Swords to the convention center. Like, it used to actually be out there. That's where you had to go. So, I mean, I think it holds less. They're probably expecting it to be less of a family day out because, I mean, obviously it's...
Oh, big time. Well, yeah. I mean, let's not gloss over the reason anyone's probably going to it at all. The lead guest is the guy that plays Art the Clown.
Yeah, and the other guest is the director of Terrifier.
And the director. I told my sister, and she immediately flipped her nut. Like, that's... it's a good pull, and they've got a draw for it. But yeah, like, it's obviously going to be more niche than the big family day out.
Yeah, and I think... we've talked about this, that the bigger DCC gets, the more family oriented it's going to get, which is great, but the more consumable it's going to get. And look, here's the thing. When you go to bigger conventions, it doesn't really matter. When I went to MCM, I didn't even meet any of the guests. I just had a great time. And that's that's where DCC is now. It's like, it doesn't really matter who the guests are to an extent because it's a big day out. It's in the center of town. People are going to go and they're going to have a good time, which is why it's mad when some people are like, oh, the guests are this. And I'm like, you don't even need to see the guests. You just go have a good time. It doesn't
matter, yeah.
It matters to an extent, but with DCC, it's lovely because it doesn't matter. It's the same with MCM. It doesn't matter. But I will say this, and again, we're not sponsored by these people. This is just literally my opinion based on someone who goes to cons a lot. The Monopoly ones very much are the opposite in my personal opinion. They do depend on the guests because I'm not
because I'm not a huge con goer. When I think of big scale cons, I do think of your Dublin Comic Con, your MCM. So what's a Monopoly con?
So obviously they would be the big ones, right? And then they would be like along the same lines of your Comic Con, right? Like the one that everyone would think of in California. But there are smaller ones like the Paramorphicon, which was fantastic. Blah blah blah. So there's a few different ones, right? But there is like another corporate entity called Monopoly, and they do.
Oh, okay. Oh, the name of the company is called Monopoly.
Yeah. So you'll see.
Right.
You'll see Monopoly presents Comic-Con Liverpool, Scotland, Belfast, which is ironic because it was in Lisburn, Manchester, etc. Right. So I actually am going to Liverpool Comic-Con in May. Right. I'm going over for the day and I'm coming back the same day. And I'm literally going I was literally going for one reason, and now I'm going for two reasons. One, because they have William Zabka, who played Johnny Lawrence in Cobra Kai. I want to go over and meet him. And they also have Hayden Christensen there, so I want to meet him too.
No way.
But like the lineup of guests they have are phenomenal, right? But the thing about it is, and they're always really good. Like the one in Lisburn, they had the Power Rangers, and they had like a bunch of other guests, some wrestling guests, etc. Right? But the difference there is those Comic Cons live or die based on their guests, because the way they're set out, the way the schedules are done, the way you literally go in and there's not a lot to do, but it really is you go there to buy the thing or to meet the people, right? It's very transactional. Now, don't get me wrong, some people love that. I wouldn't complain. The guests are always great. It's always laid out really well. It's super easy to get to sometimes, except in Lisburn. I did a video on that. But in the UK proper, like on mainland, usually they're fine. Like Liverpool is right beside the comm lines, etc. But it's not the same vibe as you would get in a DCC, where it's a family day out kind of thing. There's people cosplaying, there's people playing games. It's fostered a different atmosphere, and it's very much the same way with MCM, where it's 14 times the size of DCC, but it still feels like DCC. You know what I mean? So So there are just these different kind of cons. Obviously, there's so many ones, but I have no doubt that people are gonna have a great time at DCC this year. Like either one.
Oh, big time. I'm always like, obviously, just this past while, like I'm out of the country. It's been a bit of a while for me. I'm hoping to get back onto the con circuit, but it's I think for me, it's always usually the smaller ones that kind of actually get me excited.
Yeah, I mean,
and like I know there's obviously the major small ones of like Kaizoku and Akumacon in Cork and Galway.
Yeah.
They'd be the big college cons. But there's a few cropping up in Dublin now. Like Okamicon we went to last year. It was in Griffith College.
Oh,
it's now moving down to Dunleary, which is wild because that's where I used to live.
But
and the thought of an anime convention there is absolutely insane.
But I love those. We've talked about this, and I love when we go and do panels at them, because you get to meet the people afterwards. They come up, you get to meet other smaller creators. We get guests sometimes from them. We get more listeners from them, and we get to actually like interact with people. That's what I love most about doing the cons. Like, yeah, DCC is always really great to us when we do panels there. But the smaller cons, you get like the passionate audience. You get the really good questions. Like we did the one on the history of like of Japanese horror games, and there were like passionate people there. It wasn't a massive crowd because it's a small con, but they were passionately there for it, and you don't get that anywhere else.
No, and I am certainly looking forward to going back to Kazuka-Con, where I am actually well and not in the depths of death.
I love Kazuka-Con. I love Kazuka-Con. I really do. It's my favorite con in the entire country. And the fact that we had like a half a room, like half a lecture hall.
I'd say a good half a lecture hall. Yeah.
At 9 a.m.
That's. Well, listen, Dara, that's the draw of Madam Web.
That's what I'm saying. And look, if people are saying Madam Web wasn't a draw, we had half a lecture hall full of people at 9 a.m. to listen to us talk about Madam Web, and they loved it. And we had great questions. It's up on the feed. One of my favorite days ever. Yourself, myself, and Keith just having the laugh with like a random group of people. You don't get that anywhere else, and that for me, that's why I love cons. They're just brilliant. But I will say, even if we were going to this one, right, the guests are very Rick and Morty heavy, so there isn't a lot there for me. I mean, I like Rick and Morty to an extent, but there's no one there I'd want to go pay €40 to go meet. You know what I mean?
No, like it's not like that. It's Rick and Morty, but it's not like they got Dan Harmon.
Yeah, well, for obvious reasons. Yeah, I mean, But what I will say is, if you are going, right, I need to give a shout out to Not the Beads, and like smaller creators. Go over to Not the Beads. Leanne will look after you. She'll give you like the best handmade jewelry you can get. She is a personal friend of mine, and thus I'm giving her a plug. So please do go over, check her out. She's there selling. And here's the thing, Artist Alley, when you're going through it, they need your money. They need you guys to support them because they have to cover the table. And you won't find stuff anywhere else like that. You know, other than Etsy, I hear you, but the fact that it's all there.
But even then, Etsy's kind of become a harboring for drop shipping late. Like
that's true.
If you know an artist, you find an artist. Yes, obviously buy their stuff on it. But like if you're shopping around Etsy, be careful now because you can just kind of get stuff that's mass produced that's labeled as handmade. Well,
I will say that DCC actually does vet its.
Oh no! In person, the DCC, the Artist Alleys, absolutely. Yeah, no. The Artist Alleys are always. It's probably where I spend most of my time.
Yeah, so you're getting something just for you that hasn't been drop shipped, and I mean that's worth the ticket price alone. And then again, you get to meet a bunch of people. The cosplayers are always really good. Like DCC, even with the smaller conventions or the smaller one in summer, the cosplayers are always like top notch. So you know, Keane always kills it. I'm always shocked every time how well he just manages to kill it. So he will be missed. I don't think he's going this year, but we will try and do it for summer. And we might do the horror one as well. But no, definitely, like Keane was saying, you know, about doing the cons. And Kev, we were waiting for you to come back. So we are going to be back doing the cons again this year. So
I'm ready. I'm absolutely ready. I'm happy to get down to any part of the country. And considering the last time I drove to Cork, I was not well. Should not have driven for 3 hours. I look forward to doing that drive when I'm actually well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I stayed the night before. I was like, yeah, I'm not getting up that early. But no, seriously, if you guys want to book us, you can nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com or editor@nerdtoknowmedia.com. You can book us and we will come down and hang out because we love doing cons. Cons are one of the best part of doing this because normally it's just a Skype conversation with us. It won't be a Skype conversation for too much longer, unfortunately. But yeah, to actually have a crowd and stuff like that, it's pretty cool. How much time do we have left, Kev?
About 5 minutes.
So look, I want to say one thing. Mickey 17, not very good.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Because I've been waiting. I was hoping it was still in cinemas by the time I got home. Because like I love Bong Joon-ho. I think it was actually the first time I was on this podcast with you.
Yeah,
I was absolutely raving about how much I love Parasite.
Unfortunately, there's a great movie in there somewhere. Another pass at the editing floor would have been great. There's some cool bits in it. It's very heavy-handed, but definitely a pass at the editor would have been like a really good shout. And it's way too long. It goes on for hours.
That bumps. I'm probably still gonna go see it.
Oh no, do go see it. Absolutely.
For the love of the game. But
absolutely, I saw it in IMAX.
That's a bummer.
I saw it in IMAX and I saw it just after I watched The Monkey. The Monkey's also not very good. It's a cool idea.
I've seen like bits of it. I don't know what that movie's about.
Yes, I said I went in expecting like a horror movie, right? Like an actual hardcore horror movie. And it's basically about this monkey that when you wind it up, people die in horrific ways. And it follows this family through generations. So it like starts off with Ben from Parks and Rec running in covered in blood, trying to give it back. The monkey is wound, hits the drum, and then people start dying. And it follows this family trying to deal with it. Now the end of it actually is pretty cool. It has like a wild ending where it's just like, okay, literally I won't ruin the ending, but literally like as big as you can go, it goes, you know. And but it's not a horror movie. It really isn't. So I was chewing on that still when I walked up to the IMAX to go see Mikey 17, and I liked the monkey more, but I was kind of disappointed with both of them, to be honest with you.
Actually, tangent of a tangent. Just because Mickey 17 reminds me so much of Live Die Repeat, even though they're not the same concept, but like
No.
the dying, repeating, cloning thing. It just kind of got me in the brain of it. I bring this up because did you know that Live Die Repeat, the Tom Cruise movie, was based on a manga?
Yes.
Yeah. Manga's called All You Need Is Kill.
Okay.
They have just released a promo for an anime of All You Need Is Kill.
Really?
Coming out either later this year or next year. I haven't read the manga. It's been one that's been on my list for a while now. But like the anime promo looks absolutely bonkers. I think the movie took a lot of liberties, as like Hollywood movies are wont to do like that.
But look, I will say though, right? If you're given a choice between Mickey 17 and Live Die Repeat or Edge of Tomorrow, watch Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, Edge of Tomorrow, great,
fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. It's really good. I actually really like that movie. Really, really do.
Yeah. So keep an eye on this. The promo looks really cool. It's like the whole like kind of alien invasion. The movie really kind of like peels back from this, and like the alien invasion is more kind of abstract. You only get kind of few glances at the actual attack. But the aliens in this and the alien worlds that they are fighting on are just incredibly vibrant. Really, really like big and bright and colorful. All You Need Is Kill. Definitely check out the promo on that. But I believe that actually brings us to time here. And I would like to thank all of you for listening, of course. If you like what we do and want to hear more of it, you can check us out on our streaming platform of choice, Spotify, YouTube, all of them. And of course, you can also find us on our website at nerdtoknowmedia.com. All of our social links are up there. Of course, there as well, you can find our Patreon if you like what we do and want to support us. That's a great way to do it. As Dara said, contact your local cons if you want us to do a panel. I have been out of the game for 6 months, and I have about 6 panel ideas just in the box, ready and waiting. If you want to hear me, if you want me to talk about Metal Gear Solid for 50 minutes straight and make Dara and Cian listen to me, email your local convention and get them to book us. Otherwise, I've been Kev.
I've been Dara.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so Companion, a movie that I went in relatively blind. Saw a random like clip of it. I didn't even see the trailer. So the trailer's playing in this video, but I went in completely blind, and I guess I was expecting some kind of horror possession movie. So I was rather confused when it turns out to be a sci-fi companion robot kind of thing, which while I wasn't expecting it, it actually was really good. I was hesitant to play the trailer because it gives a fair bit away, but I definitely think it's worth watching if you haven't seen movies like this. It's made by the same director who made Barbarian, which was a good flick as well. It has Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. Sophie Thatcher was in Heretic, and that was a very good flick from last year as well. And she's also in The Boogeyman as well. Her range of acting is fantastic. Like she's an android man as well. Her range of acting is fantastic. Like she's an android, and in the movie you can change her settings, and she will act out different things. Like her intelligence will go up, it will go down. She can change her language and like stuff. Like, so the actual range of acting is like really, really good. So fair play to her. I was very impressed by that. The movie itself is very kind of paint by the numbers. Once you kind of get the conceit of it, it's a very basic plot. And look, it is a very good movie. I really enjoyed it. Basically, Iris, the character, you're introduced to her and her boyfriend Josh. They go to a cabin to meet their friends, and it turns out there is an incident where Iris has to basically commit murder. It's revealed that she's actually a robot, and it turns out it's a heist, basically. commit murder. It's revealed that she's actually a robot, and it turns out it's a heist, basically. So it's a good movie. I'm not going to ruin any more than that. I'm not going to say any more than that. That's the review. That's the recommendation. Do watch the movie. It's fantastic. But I'm going to get into some spoilers here, because I really have to talk about two things that really stuck with me while I was watching the movie, and then afterwards when I was kind of thinking about it. The first one is Jack Quaid. I really like Jack Quaid in The Boys. I really liked him in Scream. He's a good actor. However, he's now found himself in this, I don't want to say typecast, but it kind of is, where he's like the nice guy that turns out to be the bad guy, you know. This happened a lot in the last Scream, where he was the killer, you know, that was the big twist. Very similar to this in the last Scream, where he was the killer, you know, that was the big twist. Very similar to this, where like he's the one that actually set up the murder. He's the one that installed the modification so Iris would go nuts and kill Sergei. So it was less impactful than if they had used literally anyone else, or if Scream hadn't have already come out. You know, so like he is a good casting choice. But unfortunately, when you see him now, you're like, okay, this is what's coming. You know, so maybe whoever's casting Jack Quaid in these roles, the hand's been played. The other thing, and this might not be actually, I would be shocked if this wasn't a factor by the lads who made this movie, Hugh Hancock. Or maybe you're not aware of it if you're an American and you've never seen this movie, but there's a great movie called Hancock. Or maybe you're not aware of it if you're an American and you've never seen this movie, but there's a great movie called Ex Machina. And it's an English movie with a lot of Irish people in it. But it's a smaller movie with Oscar Isaacs and Donald Gleeson. It came out 2015, so it's been out a couple of years, 10 years now. And it's a similar plot to this. Basically, it's a tech billionaire. He invites a coder over to kind of do the Turing test, which is how you test if an AI is human or not. If you can't differentiate that it's a machine or a human, it's past the Turing test. And then that's basically the conceit behind it. But it's very, very, very similar to this movie. You know, it's obviously a female android. She thinks she's human. It involves some sex. It involves, this hyper Black Mirror technology world. This hyper Black Mirror technology world. But look, I'm going to say it. While I really like Companion, I thought Ex Machina is a much better, smarter movie. And it's a much smaller cast. It's like 4 people or something like that, maybe 5. Some extras in the first scene, but even if you didn't like Companion, you're like, oh, that's kind of contrived, go watch Ex Machina. That would be my take on it. I think you would really enjoy that either way. And if you really like Companion and you've maybe never heard of Ex Machina, do check that out. But look, guys, that's going to do it. Companion's really good. It's a good flick. I enjoyed it. There's a lot there for many different people. If you're into like a slower movie, if you're into these kind of cast study movies, and maybe if you're a fan of Black Mirror, I think you'll definitely enjoy it. But please do leave your comments below. What did you think? Did you like it? Do you agree, disagree? But please do let me know, and like, subscribe. That helps. What did you think? Did you like it? Do you agree, disagree? But please do let me know, and like, subscribe. That helps the channel out.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.